Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. A very warm welcome. I hope all of you are safe and healthy and now have started going out of the house jail. No. I'm not saying that we didn't enjoy it. I'm sure that all of us must have enjoyed our family time a lot. But now I think that we want to go free, we want to go out of house. So, welcome everyone. On behalf of CIO Club, I would like to welcome all of you, and I would like to welcome all our panelists as well to our very first session on Women Day special, She Talks. Before I talk about the session, let me quickly introduce CIO Club to you. It was founded in 2008. CIO Club is the largest non-profit association of chief information officers in India, and our mission is to share and enhance knowledge on technological advancements and explore better business solutions for the IT community across the world. And this is an interactive senior level IT professionals platform where partners, media, professional CIOs, all of us can exchange best practices, share knowledge with each other, we can share our experiences with each other, and can explore business solutions and derive strategies to address major IT management challenges. The key objective of the CIO Club is to contribute to the professional growth of CIOs and drive the business benefit to their organization. Before we proceed further, let me play the video for you to introduce you better to the CIO Club. Can we please have the AV? Yes, it's coming up.
CIO Club is an initiative of CIO Association, an association of CIOs by CIOs and for CIOs. CIOs of Indian enterprises has formed the CIO Club, registered as the CIO Association. CIO Club is a non-profit and the largest association of chief information officers in India. It is registered under the Indian Societies Act. CIO Club was formed in 2008, and from one chapter in 2008, CIO Club has now grown to 10 chapters over the years. We now have chapters in Mumbai, Delhi NCR, Chennai, Bangalore, Pune, Coimbatore, Hyderabad, Kolkata, Kerala, and Ahmedabad. From a humble beginning of 30 CIOs in Mumbai, it has now grown to more than 1,800 plus members across the country. CIO Club is governed by a governing body and the chapter managing committees which drive the CIO Club objectives nationally. Our technology partners leverage this strong platform to showcase their products and services to the CIOs. The key objectives of the club are to share experience, enhance knowledge, and explore better business solutions by leveraging the collective wisdom of a large number of CIOs who are registered members. The primary objective is to drive the business benefit to the organizations of the member CIOs and also help CIOs in their professional growth as effective leaders. The club also encourages entrepreneurial spirit by providing a platform for sharing and generating innovative ideas in the larger interest of the community. CIOs from every industrial domain indulge in this endeavor for the evolution of the IT community. Today, CIO Club is poised to scale up in terms of location spread, breadth of membership, and building new alliances to bring international best practices within the reach of the community. International club relationships are being built. One such initiative is CIONet. Members of CIO Club get free access to a wealth of knowledge and opportunities to network and mark their presence in the international community of CIOs. More emphasis is being led on knowledge sharing, and also avenues of spreading this knowledge to other members of the IT departments are being set up. CIO Club is actively working with industry bodies such as NASSCOM, CII, ASSOCHAM to ensure that the CIO community has a voice in such forums. We have also also constituted special interest groups on IT security and digital transformation to strengthen knowledge and experience sharing in these two critical areas of information technology. We are working towards a welfare program and executive education program for CIOs, and it will be launched shortly for all the members of the CIO Club. So, join the CIO Club and start learning, sharing, and caring. For more details, visit us on cioclub.com. Follow us on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.
Thank you so much. It was really interesting to know about CIO Club. Now coming back to our event today, why we are here. You know, in 1914, International Women's Day was held on 8th of March, which was in Germany, and possibly because of the reason that it was Sunday. And since then, it's always being held on 8th of March all over the globe. International Women's Day is the day dedicated to honoring the achievements of women throughout the history and all across the globe, and is typically a day for women from all different backgrounds and cultures to band together to fight for the gender parity and women's rights. Today, I am extremely pleased to announce that we have many renowned, successful, yet humble women with us who will talk about their journey, their challenges, and will share their thoughts with us. Thank you so much, all the panelists, for joining us. With this, I will hand over to our moderator, Priya. Welcome, Priya. And to introduce Priya, she is working in the industry from the past 25 years, and she has been working in multiple geographies. She is developer at heart. Wow, good. And she's passionate about making life easier for customers using the technology. She loves traveling, she loves reading, and she would like to see more women in own boardrooms. Excellent, Priya. And before I hand over to Priya, just a quick announcement. As the way we every time have, we have amazing prizes and quiz at the end of the session, which will be run on Kahoot platform. I'm sure you must be aware of that by now. And if you have Kahoot app on your phone, please keep it handy or you can download it. If not, please point your browser to kahoot.it. We will announce the quiz ID and we will play together and win the prizes here. Also, please ensure that you enter your name and phone number as your ID in Kahoot quiz. And one important thing, that if your names are not in the proper format, even if you will win, we might not be able to give you the gift which you deserve a lot. Okay, I don't want to take much of the time. Dear Priya, over to you.
Thank you, Preeti. Thanks for the great session introduction. It's very important for us to be vocal as women, about women empowerment, about women inclusion and diversity at workplace. I was reading about the impact of women on our corporates, and it's estimated that women contribute in the excess of $20 trillion in consumer spending every year. Women account for 85% of consumer purchases, but despite that, only 11% of creative directors in advertising are women. Men hold 62% of manager positions to women 38, and it gets worse as we go higher up. And to add, I've started calling 2020 the year of COVID. Women have had to pull a double shift as homemakers and full-time employees, resulting in a disproportionate amount of health issues and health and other issues. But there's a lot of pressure that we put on ourselves. While we've come a long way, we do have a lot longer to go. As the poet rightly said, miles to go before I sleep. I've had some very strong women in my life, right from when I started working to even today. I see them handle challenges, fall down and stand back up, and that gives me courage to walk my path. I think it's critical for us to be those role models for the next generation, to make things easier, to let them not deal with the problems that we dealt before them. We know that statistics say that women in leadership fosters innovation, brings empathy to the culture, decisions are more inclusive, etc. I am so happy, so honored to have an esteemed panel of women leaders today who have crossed over to the boardroom, and we'll hear their thoughts today on their journey, their struggles, and their successes. Let me quickly introduce you to the panel. Vipin Luthra is the Director of Infrastructure and Operations, Africa, Middle East, and South Asia at PepsiCo. Hi, Vipin.
Yeah, hello everyone.
Arpita is the CIO of Valvoline Cummins Limited. Hi, Arpita.
Hello everyone.
Shweta is here. Shweta is the Chief Digital Officer at Hero Cycles Limited.
Hey, hi
Hi,
everyone.
Shweta.
Good evening. Hey.
And Shikha is the Vice President at Canon India Limited. Hi, Shikha.
Hello.
Welcome, ladies. It's really great to host you all and hear your journeys and stories. Let's jump right into it. Let me start with Vipin. Vipin, tell me, why technology? What attracted you to this field, and how has your journey been?
Yeah, Priya. So I was a very good student in maths. That's what my favorite subject. I love solving problems and simplifying things. And that is where, I developed my lot of love for building algorithms. Though I'm a chemical engineer, I did my chemical engineering in '97 from IIT Roorkee. Because of my rank, I did not get computer science, but there was a lot of love towards it, and I was very fortunate when I got my campus job in TCS in '97. So that is where my love for IT. It was basically solving problems and building algorithms. And then it was always every day. Like, I have around 23 years of experience in IT, and every day is a new learning. So I love a challenging job, because it helps you to develop yourself on personal and professional both angles. Because of IT, I have around worked in 5 to 6 companies and across the globe. I have worked in US for a couple of years, and now also I am managing Africa, Middle East, South Asia. So it gives you a lot of opportunities, to work with various people from culture. They have different culture, they have different ways of working. So I really find this entire stream to be very enriching, right? And now the world is changing at such a high speed. Means every day you have to upskill yourself if you have to stay relevant in this world. So it is. I really find it very enriching from personal and professional growth, and hence IT is my job.
Wow. Thank you, Vipin. Truly remarkable. Let's move to Arpita. Arpita, would you like to share a little bit about your journey? Why technology? What excites you about technology?
I think for me, technology was not by design like the others. It was more by, it just happened. I just moved into it. I've done my BSc in economics, and then I wanted to do some professional course. So it was a choice between an MBA or an MCA. And I joined and decided to do MCA. And from campus, I joined Pricewaterhouse that point of time. And they put us on a ONGC project wherein we were supposed to know something called SAP. And this is way back in '96 when SAP India was not in India. And we were all struggling to understand what it was because we are all fresh out of college. So we were trained by Pricewaterhouse Philadelphia office on SAP ABAP. So I started as a hardcore ABAPer. Then realized that, okay, I mean, IT is the way to go for people like us, who have had a logical bend of mind, because if you understand economics, there's a lot of mathematics into it and statistics. And also during my PwC days, I realized that I don't want to be stuck as an ABAPer. I don't want to be labeled as a programmer, and I wanted to move into the functional side of things. So I kind of groomed myself. I have little over almost around 25 years of experience. So I groomed myself into a management consultant, then an SAP HR consultant. I was the first batch of SAP HR certified consultants in India, way back in '99. And then I kind of, worked up the ladder, had my own venture of 150 consultants for India and Middle East. And then I decided again to get back to corporate. And then last 4 years, I decided I had enough of my consulting days. Why not move to the other side of the table? Because that's more attractive than always getting it from the customers. You know, you give it back to the consultants. So yeah, I mean, as Vipin rightly said, you know, I think IT is one area wherein you're continuously learning and innovating. And for me, it gives a great satisfaction of creating something. When you give a system to your customers or my stakeholders, and it is a success, and the adoption starts happening, and they start reaping the benefits, you feel like you've done something at the end of the day. You feel very satisfied. So that's what I think technology means for me. You know, that feeling of satisfaction, feeling of creativity, which I think we as women understand that better because we are the ones who are mothers as well.
Yeah. Thank
So
you. Thank you
that's
for
what
that.
technology means.
Thank you so much. That was really interesting, from a ABAPer to managing a team of 150 people to now heading a huge organization. Really a great journey. Shweta, over to you. Would you like to share a little bit about why technology, how you got here, and you know, how are you enjoying it?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, sure, Priya. I can definitely talk about it. Totally impressed, Arpita and Vipin. You've had a great journey. So, for me, I'm a mechanical engineer, and after my mechanical engineering and industrial management, General Electric picked me. It's an industrial company, so it came naturally as a next step. Next step, I joined them in information management leadership program. So that's where my tech journey started. It with General Electric. So tech had always interested me. Even in my engineering, I did all kinds of tech projects associated with the mechanical industry. So, so when GE happened, so GE is a university in itself, right? The programming, the even finance, they will teach you every trick you need to survive in the organization, and I think it's a great place to start a career. And hence, I thank my stars that that's where I could initiate my journey. Even as a women, there is no differentiator really in an organization like that. They really drill in that meritocracy within you, that what matters is what you deliver. It's not who says it, it's what is said is what matters in the room, right? So then one great project after another, we built the first hot testing solution that is today for General Electric Jetpack. At that point in time, I worked in high performance compute environments, so for a lot of very, very interesting and technically challenging projects. Loved each one of them. I think what gave me passion and what drives me in the tech is really delivering that business outcome, leveraging this gamut of of tools and techniques we've got, right? It's like, say in traditional words, you are a warrior and Arjun with all kinds of different gear in your hands. You go figure out what's the problem business got, and you've got a solution to that. You pick out the specific arrow, and there it goes, right? So, so the level of, like earlier speaker said, it's a huge sense of being able to solve and drive the business outcomes, right? And be right there. And these days, in all transformational assignments I've picked up, whether it was Max New York Live, which was a complete business transformation assignment, or G Transportation, my last role, and even the current one is a really, really tough environment where you want to transform an organization which has been working a certain way, right? Each transformational assignment brings a huge level of challenges. There are tech, but there is so much beyond tech. Concept about change adoption, about really opening up people to the potentials of what it could bring to the organization. All of it's been exciting. So far, so good. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome, Shraddha. I loved that. We are warriors and we have a set of tools in our backpack, and whenever there's a problem, we kind of figure out that. That was really nice. That was really cool. Last but not the least, Shikha, would you like to share what made you join the field and how has it been going till today?
Okay, let me first wish everybody a happy Women's Week. And very interestingly, like Shweta, I've also done mechanical engineering. So it's interesting to have, it's quite uncommon, you know. And it was way back in '88 when I graduated from IIT Kanpur in mechanical engineering. And I was the only girl in the batch. So as in technology, more so, I think, in mechanical engineering, it is a male-dominated field. So kind of used to being the only woman around. After graduation, I joined BHEL in the factory at Bhopal, worked in the shop floor of transformers in Bhopal and Jhansi, and later joined Bausch & Lomb in Bhiwadi. That was also in the factory, and they wanted to implement MRP. At that time, it was not ERP, it was still material planning. And so that's how, my transition, if I can say, happened into IT. And I don't know, fortunately or unfortunately, the IT manager quit. And in a place like Bhiwadi, not easy to get technology guys. So, and I have always been a learner, if I can say, and never got intimidated by taking up something new. So why not, I said, and I learned technology, learned Oracle, learned FortShift. That was the name of the MRP there. And now for 18 years, I've been with Canon. And besides IT, I manage the HR and the quality, environment, health and safety functions. So I think the story how I got into technology was the way I explained, but the fact that I am a pro to reskilling myself is what has been my key success factor, if I can say.
Wow, Shikha, that is so inspiring to know that you single-handedly managed 3 different functions for a company like Canon. So, I mean, kudos, hats off to you. Moving on, I want to just, kind of pick your brain on why do you think there are so less women in boardrooms? I mean, that has been something that we've been talking about for a while. Do we put in a lot of pressure on ourselves and then burn out quickly, or is it the environment that we are in? I mean, what are your thoughts about how would we want to kind of bring up more people in the room? And I'm going to start with you, Shikha, and go the other way around.
Okay.
And maybe what are your thoughts on how do we kind of address this issue?
So your question is why so few women CXOs? Huh?
Yes.
If you allow me to put my HR hat, I would say the challenge starts right at the hiring stage. We do not get enough candidates or representation of women. So we start with a smaller funnel, and then it is a leaky bucket, in the sense we have women dropping out at the time of marriage because they have to relocate to the place where their husband is working, or it is childbirth or child bringing up the children. And those are the things, or at times I have seen women take up lesser important or easier jobs, and started getting to be called low performers, and then they lose being on the on the track. And because they are scared of, they have this fear of how do I manage both my home and office. So there are all these kinds of reasons why, so many women do not reach the CXO position. But if you allow me to flip the question and say, let us see what are those attributes. Let us study the CXOs, the women CXOs, and see what are these attributes that got them there. And I will choose some 3 of those, and say if those who have reached the boardroom, I feel those are women who have a strong self-belief, who have that determination, the grit, the never say die attitude. So that's one thing, that they are intrinsically, they have a strong self-belief. That's the first point I feel. The second thing I think is that they have invested a lot in their relationships. They have developed a very strong support system. They're networking. so that at times when they need, help, they can rely on this strong network that they built. And third, I would say they have been a bit lucky also. They have been, picked up by, they have been picked up, or they have selected organizations who actually have, valued their contributions, not like a man or a woman, irrespective of gender, they have valued their contributions. So I think those are the three things that I would like to talk on this question of how can women go up on the boardroom.
Thanks, Shika. Really valid points. I think it's important for us to do our part. But quickly adding another angle to this question, Shweta, if you can also maybe share where do you think the corporates can add to this journey? I mean, obviously there is a part that we have to play, but do you think corporates are doing enough for women to come up the ladder? Like Shika said, I do agree that we tend to put a lot of pressure on ourselves as well. So is there a way that corporates can help? Are they doing enough? Are we doing enough for the next generation of women to come up?
So frankly, I think, Priya, the progress that has happened in last decade or so, the fresher talent coming last 5, 7, 8 years, they are definitely getting better opportunities, and hence the likelihood of the percentage of people that we, or women that we see in boardroom today, because these are the women who started 20, 25 years back, right? But the ones who started in the recent decade or recent last 5, 7 years. So I think in a decade to come, we should see a much higher number, because there are better opportunities. The world has moved a needle to that effect. But would that number be like maybe 50% plus 60, 70%, like how men dominate today? May not be. There is still be a way to go on that. But I think last decade or so has seen enough and more women getting in. I myself mentoring a few who are very brilliant at what they do and very ambitious and passionate about pursuing their careers, right? But at the same time, your question was very pointed to say, is corporates doing enough? It can never be enough. And why do I want any corporate to do anything specifically gender-wise? I somehow never like when there is a mandate that we have to hire somebody because there is a diversity mandate out of that. I'm just, so that's not what I want corporates to do. I mean, only thing I would want corporates and more Indian corporates also to rise up to that is that value what is being said. Do not value, don't think about where is it coming from. Don't differentiate it with that. More diversity we have in our ecosystem, more value you could drive out of it. Business can get that much better perspective, that much better growth if we have more diversity. And diversity is not just having women in the workplace. It's about people with special abilities. It's about people with different geographic, backgrounds. So that diversity is what really takes organizations to next level. But I think as long as they are hiring for meritocracy and consistently hire only for merit, that's what corporates can do, and that's what they should commit themselves to.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, Shweta, right on its head. You've hit the nail right on its head when you say inclusion should be for the right reasons. Diversity should be for the right reasons and not just to fill a mandate. And that's a conversation that I see happening a lot around these days. Arpita, would you have some thoughts on this? What would you say about what we are doing? Why women don't reach the boardroom, and probably what organizations may have to do to get us there?
Sure. So, I mean, I also wear the hat of, Diversity, Equity and Inclusion Council member in Valvoline globally. And we have been kind of trying to see how to get diversity numbers up. And for us, diversity obviously does not just mean gender, it means race and other things as well. And what we are seeing is, even though we are hiring, as Shikha said, that we are hiring women and capable women based on their merit, but somewhere in the middle, they're dropping out. There is a leakage which is happening from sides, and primarily because I think we as women want to do justice to all our roles. We want to be good workers, we want to be good mothers, we want to be good wives, daughter-in-law and everything. So somewhere I think we put more emphasis on the other roles than on the corporate role. And that's where we are seeing most of the girls, or, you know, very learned, very capable women, we are losing. Even though some of the corporates are trying, you know, back to work and all those things for women, but still I see that reluctancy in women to come back. You know, I have children, I have to take care of them. I have old parents whom I have to take care. My mother-in-law, father-in-law is not well. So we put emphasis on things at times, which kind of is what is, you know, kind of why people are not, we don't see so much women representation in the boardroom. And I completely agree with Shweta, wherein she says that we as women don't want to be treated differently. We are not different, we are equal in that, right? We need to be only heard and appreciated for the values that we are bringing in, or the ideas we are bringing in. Somewhere I see that challenge coming in, and especially if you see in the shop floors. I mean, we have women employees on the shop floor as well, and we see, you know, when they see women coming in and working, the way the male supervisors react is a little different, because they feel they need to be treated differently, which is not the case. I mean, we are there as you're equal, right? So I guess that's where I feel as women leaders, we kind of need to even coach the next generation that how to balance work and life, where to put the emphasis on, and what to take and what to take, what not to take, and also, you know, kind of get their families to understand. You know, you've taught your daughters, you know, you've got them to a certain level. Now let them also spread their wings and fly. And for that, whatever the family needs to do, they do. I mean, because I've been a consultant all my life, 20 days a month I was traveling, leaving my 3-month-old kids. And my family had supported me. Without their support, I would not have ever reached this position. Because a female consultant's job is like, it's very tough, and especially when you have very small kids at home or elderly parents at home. But somewhere that support system, which is going to come directly from your family, is very, very important for us as women, and for us to understand what we can do, what we cannot do, and what is important, what is not important, and where to draw the line.
Yeah.
I think that's
yeah, completely agree. I think that's one of the biggest points that we have to keep in mind, that we need to develop those relationships. You want to call it relationships, you want to call it support system, whatever. But we cannot be super women in the real, as in super women kind of way. You cannot take all the pressure. Vipin, you seem to have some thoughts going on in your mind. Would you like to share?
Yeah, why not? So, see, actually, we have made a lot of progress. If I say that, if we see 5 to 10 years back, so I will not say that we are at the same stage. Now, earlier, education of women was a big problem. We made a lot of progress. Now we do see equal strength in schools and colleges, and even in STEM program. Earlier, there were very less women in STEM, as Shikha mentioned that she was a single woman in a class in mechanical engineering. Even I, like in my college days, we were 34 and we were just 3 women in chemical engineering. So, and now we see a lot more. So there are around 30 to 35% women, which you can see it in STEM. And there is cautious effort by the organizations, when they hire. There are cautious decisions when they are going to the campus to hire men and women. And similarly, there are cautious decisions taken by the organization to hire women in the boardroom. But I believe one of the biggest problem is that women quitting their jobs when they reach the middle management. We are not able to, we hire women at the entry level, but we are not able to sustain them. So they quit when they get into middle management or senior management. They are not able to continue with their career to the directors or vice presidents. So there is a broken rug. We do not have a healthy pipeline. I believe at this point of time, organizations, the biggest problem is that they do not have a healthy pipeline from their juniors, which are going to be promoted to the senior positions. And because of that, since we have a broken pipeline, if the woman in the boardroom, they leave, they do not have replacements and they have to look out. So I think, And why do we have that broken rug is, it is both, there has to be work done from both the levels, from the environment and from the women themselves. Now they quit because of their family reasons, they are getting married, but there are some unbiased conscious as well in the organization. Yes, I'll give you an example. When I started my career, I wanted to work in a very high profile project, and the person who was selecting the team, he mentioned that he want people who work 24/7. And when I went, I told him that you shortlist me, and he was like, "No, I'm not taking any woman because I want them to work day and night. And if I take women, I have to send them cabs, I have to give them security. I don't want to get into all those hassles." And I was like, "No, you take me, I will make it happen somehow." So he took me, and but then I was very cautious. Uh, Even other team members were taking leave, but I was not taking leave, honestly, because I have to prove that he was wrong, that he did not took a bad decision in taking a woman in his team. And I did it. Means I was given the award of the best team player, but then I have to put a lot of efforts. I will say much more effort than the other people. So those unconscious biases are there, and those play on our mind, which we do not know while we are hiring. We always see like, oh, if a woman is in 30 years old, if she's not married, she will get married, she will take leave. Or if she is married, then while hiring, you think, oh, she may go on maternity leave, I have a project for 2 years, so those uh, all those decisions are there on our mind, which we don't even know that they are playing on our mind. And that is what we have to train all the people around us. We have to fix this issue which lies in the ecosystem. And parallelly, women have to work themselves to create their supporting system when they get into middle management. It is a win-win situation. They need to create an ecosystem in office, in their professional growth. They have to create an ecosystem in their personal life as well, in getting their sponsors, in creating their networks. Earlier, like in olden age, it was always said that a child is raised by a village. And many times, these days, women think, they take a lot of pride that I do every work of my child on my own. So we need to come out of those mindsets and create a enabling environment for us that help us, especially, those 10 years when we are in our 35 to 45 years of age, to create that ecosystem around us so that we can sustain that time. And if we are able to sustain that period, I will say that then we can cross all the limits and we can reach there. So it means an ecosystem, and it means upskilling ourselves.
Yeah, I think I do agree. I do agree. I mean, I have a story from my journey where I was talking to one of the HR folks in one of my previous organizations, and I said, people don't really understand what is inclusion, or what does it mean for to be, how do you treat a woman and a man in the same way, and what does it mean to be sexual harassment doesn't really have to be just sexual. What does harassment mean? So maybe we need to have some kind of a training. So he was very supportive, and he said, you know what, that's a really great idea. Why don't you do one thing? You talk to the admin team, get a place booked, and then invite all the women, and then explain to them all this. And then I was amazed. For 5 minutes, I had nothing to say. I mean, they think that this is a women problem. And that's kind of that bulb there goes off, and there's a lot of work that needs to be done, and a lot of it falls on our heads to make sure that we kind of talk the right talk. When somebody is saying we have a mandate that we have to hire a woman, we have to question, why do you need to hire a woman? Create a gender inclusive job description. Don't say that I will you have 100% travel and 24-hour working, and be realistic. You can't have so that's what my thinking on this is. But let me flip the conversation, and while we are at 18 years of experience, 25 years of experience, what would we say to a new person who is joining technology, a 20-year-old, a 21-year-old who's just come out? Today millennials, new people, they are a completely different breed. So, I mean, sometimes I feel that they just go outside the boundary lines completely. And I'm like, my goodness, I have a team at work, and, I think I am the only one who is above, I want to say 40. I'm not going to say above that, but yeah, but everybody else is like 30. They're just starting to have kids, and they have a completely different way of thinking. So my question is there anything that we have to do to differently for these millennials to be interested in working longish, dedicated, grit, determination, knowing that for them, traveling and reading and enjoying life is really, really important, much more important than what it was for us. So Shweta, I'm going to put you on the spot and maybe start with you this time.
Sure. Yeah. So on that, Priya, all I want to say is, if for myself, for say 20 years back, me, right, all I want to say is just keep going, do what you enjoy. And there are different life stages that's going to happen. That's what I tell my daughter, my nieces, that all kinds of life stages are going to happen. At that point, just think this stage will pass as well. So how do you strike that balance? It's not important that you work long hours. That, okay, if you think your family is important, do not essentially put 18 hours at work or 12 hours at work. Figure a balance, but keep going. My only advice is don't stop. Because that whole barrier of coming back after stopping, right? But at any time, if that's what works for you, that's what works for you, because no one formula can work for anybody. But my advice, as far as possible, don't stop, right? Keep going. Put number of hours that work for you. If travel doesn't work, pick a job which doesn't need travel. If travel works for you and that's what you enjoy, pick a job that will enable that. Right? And in millennials, and I think most of the organizations also understand, they're not like us who dosh it out for 20 hours a day and 18 hours a day, whatever that's required to really be there. Right? They need that flexibility, and also they sort of, a lot of them are born with that silver spoon. They don't really have to care about putting their lifestyle together. We also probably never had to care, and thankfully, thank stars, to really put food on the table. But to put the lifestyle together, we still kept going. And I think the generation next does not even need to care about putting the lifestyle together, because that's what they are inheriting, right? So for them, it's about being creatively engaged, doing or giving back to society with all the education that they have had. Try as far as you can to not to stop, to pick up roles which lets them balance. And if that means working 5 hours a day, pick that. If that means compromising on salary, be it. But do the work that interests you. So for say, if development interests me, if working on the interface of hardware or software interests me, and I'm taking all tech examples because that's where my area of interest is, do that. Do it for a lesser period of time. Okay? Keep going. That's my advice.
Yeah, I think find your passion. I think that's
Absolutely.
what it is.
Find your passion, find your fitment, find your time. Yeah.
True. Vipin, would you like to add something to that?
Yes, I would like to add that I would like to even, so whatever Shweta said, I am completely aligned with that. I would just like to add that we need to share with them that our basic fundamental of a character is very important in life. You know, when I say trust, integrity, credibility, those are my foundational element. I can build any skills, I can do anything, but if my foundation is weak, I cannot progress well in life. So never compromise on those three pillars, and be a lifelong student. If you think today you have learned something and tomorrow you cannot, you have to learn new, you have to unlearn many times the things. They may be right today, but tomorrow they may prove to wrong. So have that growth mindset instead of the fixed mindset, and be ready to accept the change with all open heart.
True. I agree with you. Completely agree. Shikha, anything that you would want to add, especially from your HR perspective?
I think I'll use some different words, but the thoughts are the same, as Shweta and Vipin said. These days, I like to talk about passion and patience as a combination, a balance of between passion and patience is required to be successful. Passion as Shweta said, follow your dream, do what you want to do, And as Vipin said, be a lifelong learner, because especially in IT, lifespan of technologies is getting shorter. So one has to unlearn, has to relearn, reskill. So any youngster coming out of college today has to have that mindset. And of course, today's the Gen Z is much more confident than what I was when I stepped into my career, and they are much more informed also. So perhaps many times they said, I don't need your advice. So as veterans, we have to hold back also, because too much advice also doesn't go well. And if they listen to me, then I would say that the other thing is patience. Life is throws at you certain challenges off and on. They will also go through those tough life events. When you're not prepared, what marriage brings to the your a spin in your life, or a childbirth. So as Shweta said, just hang in there. Just don't quit. Just this will also pass, as she said. And finally, I would say that there is no mountain high enough. So have trust, have faith in yourself.
Absolutely, absolutely, Shikha. I think that's the motto. There's no mountain high enough. Arpita, would you like to add something to this discussion? What do we tell the new people who are coming into the workforce, especially in technology, women, the millennials?
I think, Vipin and Shikha and Shweta has already covered. And I would just add one more P to Shikha's 2 Ps already, passion and patience. The other one is perseverance. So whatever, as you rightly said, whatever life throws at you, you have to kind of look at how to make a lemonade out of the lime that has been thrown at you and move on, right? So I would say perseverance is very important. Dealing with the situation, knowing how to deal with that situation and move ahead in life, whether professionally or personally, is very important as women. And the biggest thing is that we kind of don't want to take help of others at times. We are reluctant to even discuss our professional problems with our peers at times. So do that. Sometimes it helps. It helps you to give or look at a problem from a different perspective. So that is one thing. And the millennials, because of their overconfidence, they don't want to do that, and they obviously feel that these women, they are old, they don't understand what we are talking about, and YOLO and all that, everything is there. But at least we know what we have gone through. We have seen certain things, and we can help and guide them. So yeah, I think the 3 Ps are very important: patience, passion, patience, and perseverance.
Awesome. I think we are growing a motto, women's motto. Somewhere something is coming up. Women in tech motto. We just all we need is a song. I think Preeti, we'll need a song from you by the end of this with the P's. The 4th P would be the Preeti. I think really.
And Priya, what about you?
Yes, yeah. She's going to kill me, but that's fine. Ladies, lastly, I would just like to add, and I just want to talk, let our guests, everybody who is listening in know that we'll open for questions in about 5-7 minutes. And if you have any questions, please feel free to put it in the chat, or let us know so that we can maybe unmute you. And if you have any questions for any of the panelists or anybody here, we would love to take a few questions at the end of this session. Going to my last question, I just have to ask one suggestion from each one of you, or one story from your journey that you would like to share, or any one comment that you would have. What would make us to keep this conversation going? What part do you think we have to play today and ensure that the new people see this as something that they would love to do? And some story, some comment, some suggestion that comes to mind that would help the next generation. So I'm going to start back with Shikha, and maybe if she has something, some story, some comment, some suggestion that would help us kind of wind it up.
So I would pick up the word Vipin mentioned, unconscious bias. And we are in Canon, we are into sales of copiers. and service post sales. And copier is a big machine, you know. So the mindset is that this can be only done by men. And this is field service. The person has to go to the customer's office and then repair it. And surprisingly, it's not only with Canon, and it's not only in India with our competition. It is worldwide. The mindset is that a copier has to be serviced by a guy. And we said, no, we don't agree. The person doesn't have to lift. If a person had to lift, even a guy cannot lift it, you know. It is about changing a PCB, or it is about installing a software onto it. And 2 years back, we said we must get a woman. So even if it is, you know, we discussed about meritocracy, and I am one person who's 100% for meritocracy, but at times it's a mindset thing. Give a chance to a woman. So we got an apprentice, a woman apprentice. We trained her. And then we put her on the field. And this was a breakthrough for us. So for that, the kind of mindset change that had to be done for the hiring manager from the service side, from the even HR sides, to have that conviction to push it through. And today we are talking about creating a pipeline. We are talking to a women's polytechnic, and we are saying we would like to train your batch in the final semester, and then we would like to recruit. So we are wanting to be the front runners in getting women to do field service. So that's the kind of story I thought I'll share with you.
Awesome. That's really awesome. Thanks, Shikha. Arpita, your thoughts on this?
So yeah, unconscious bias, I think we all know. And you know, for us, the biggest thing I could remember, which kind of Valvoline Cummins is into manufacturing engine oil, right? So in our shop floors, we have women who are working and they are filling the bottle, but we can't never think that a truck driver will walk in to collect the oil from our plant, and that's a woman truck driver. So the day she actually came to the plant and she parked the truck, and we were so surprised. I remember my plant HR called us. We have this, we call it employee resource group of women. And we all kind of said that, you know, we should appreciate the fact that a girl who is some class 9th pass out is driving across India in something which is, you know, we would never think of a woman driving a truck. You know, going to those dhabas and all where there are men, we ourselves would be scared stopping at those dhabas. And this woman was doing it. And she was carrying, and we were so proud to see that this was actually happening. And that's where we realized that, you know, whatever we think that this is not possible for a woman to do, I think it is very much possible. It is just how we need to change the way we look at things. There is nothing impossible that a woman cannot do, or a man can only do and women cannot. I mean, she was an example. Even in our sales team, see, we deal with engine oil, so most of our dealers, distributors, retailers, they're all in transport nagars. And if you have ever been to any of the transport nagars, you will realize that there are those mechanics, you know, very shady kind of places. Behind Maruti Kunj, if you go, you will see those places. We go there. Yeah, very, very different. We have sales girls who are in that role and who actually go out to those transport nagars. And I think that's where I see Valvoline being a little bit ahead. They do not usually believe that a woman cannot do it. And we have a lot of women leaders on our board as well. So that's the mindset change that is required, both from the corporate side and as well as we as individuals, as women, that we can do it. You know, when we started speaking to her over Zoom, we asked her that, how do you do it? Do you have kids? She said, yeah, I have kids. My husband and my in-laws take care of them when I'm delivering goods. And it was really a different experience. I mean, it was really, really different. So, I mean, that's where I think we need to kind of make the difference.
Great story, Arpita. I think these empowerment stories, we need to tell them a little bit more. I think one of the things that I'm realizing here, that there is such a treasure trove of stories, such a treasure trove of empowerment stories that we don't get to hear unless we are talking to people. And these stories need to come out. We need to make sure that everybody else knows about these stories so that they can kind of imbibe these things. And because some of us are just scared, we don't really know how to take the first step. So these things really encourage you to do that. Vipin, would you like to add something, some story, some suggestion from your past which would kind of help the next generation coming in?
Yeah, so I think I just want to add some different point apart from what Shikha and Arpita said is I just want to tell women that they should reach out. You know, many times we just limit everything to ourselves. We do not want to discuss our problems. We think too much, over engineering thoughts are going on in our mind. So I'll say just stay cool, you know, just forget about what world is thinking about you, and try to reach out to as much people as you can and ask for that help and support. The worst case is that you may not get it, but there is a chance when you ask, you may get it also, right?
Absolutely.
So do not lose that chance. So reach out is one of the biggest message that I want to give to all the young women. I think I missed that during my early stages of the career. I was very cautious of what people are thinking, and I was always cautious that I have to be the top performer. I never discussed my problems, and because of that, you know, there was a lot of stress that I took, which I thought was not required, right? So always, you know, this is the message which I want to give to all the young women.
Yeah, no, I think this actually reminds me of that dialogue from Shah Rukh Khan, you know, अगर किसी चीज को दिल से चाहो तो पूरी कायनात तुम्हें, you know, I need some Shah Rukh Khan fans to fill that sentence out, but you know, yeah, ask for help and the whole kainat will come and make sure that it will happen. Shweta,
And
do
it
you have
works. Many times it works.
आप मांगोगे ही नहीं, अगर आप कायनात से मांगोगे ही नहीं तो फिर कहाँ से हेल्प मिलेगी? You're right, that is on us. Shweta, you want to add something to bring us to a close?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think my last and final comment would be specifically in the world of nuclear families, where our millennials would most likely are headed to build the ecosystem beyond families. You may not always have a mother, grandmother, or immediate family member taking care of certain responsibilities that you probably leave back behind when you go out there to work. So build ecosystem beyond your family. I'll take few examples, right? In my early years, I had a very supportive family, but I didn't have somebody to fill in for those shoes, those years that I needed. But I really helped a friend start an after-school care. So my kid was the first kid who went there, and I did all the way what it took in terms of investing into her business, in terms of helping her reach out, doing marketing for her, and getting her the footfall so that she could sustain. It helped her, it helped me, right? I created the ecosystem for the interests he built, right? My kid, in terms of what he wanted to play, figured out right coaches, the best coaches. How could I bring them to society? Got the right, right kind of coach built within our society. And helped coaches start their practice in the vicinity where I could afford to have them. It took a lot of energy, but then having built that, and that's what there were at least 5, 6 such things I ended up building around me in terms of ecosystem, which goes purely beyond families. But that really, helped me pass through and groom, give him the kind of parenting I needed, right? And at the same time, be available to do what I wanted to do, where my passions took me. At the same time, holding the parenting responsibility strong right there, right? So there are more and more such scenarios I see happening where there are nuclear families and they wouldn't really be able to get that ecosystem in the immediate setup, right? So go out and build that ecosystem. There are enough and more opportunity for you to build that, with people around you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think some bit of it lies on us. We can't just wait for things to happen. We have to do our part, and that's becoming clearer as we speak. Thanks a lot. I think it was a really, really interesting session. I have a few questions that people have sent me, and some of them are on chat. I'm going to ask a few of them to you, but before that, I think Mitali, who has joined us on the call, wants to say something, and probably she has a question as well. So Mitali, would you like to come online and share your thoughts? Preeti, Basanji, would you help us listen to her, please? Do we have Mitali?
Yes, I can see Mitali. Mitali, can you please
Priya,
unmute?
you can. Yeah, Priya, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can hear you, Mitali. Hi.
Hi, Priya, long time. I think this has been one of the most wonderful sessions that I have heard, I have been, or I have attended as a panelist, as a speaker, or anything. I think this was something which was really power-packed performance, full house, and each of the words that were said by the panelists, I could relate to each one of them. Whether it was, facing the challenges as a woman, getting support, voicing your opinion, asking for help, reaching out, or creating that ecosystem where people can come out, coming up, with your weaknesses, having that kind of passion, perseverance, patience, I would say, all of that put together into perfection and getting to that level where you can. I mean, I think women have to be like that rock where you have to be there, you have to be there, balance the family as well as balance your professional life. But yes, you don't have to kill yourself for it. And like rightly said, do what you really feel you are good at and how much time you want to do. Because at the end of the day, you don't want to end up doing something which adds on to your stress. You have to take care of kids, you have to take care of everything, and then you don't want to add on to something which is too stressful for you. And I think, I mean, you all just nailed it perfectly. So it was like awesome. That's what I can say. And the question that I had from all of you was, give those few tips to the younger generation, each one of you, especially at the stage, like we say, the middle career, where people are there. And I know because I have been there also, and now I am in the boardroom, so I know that kind of thing. But that's the question that I've also been asked number of times wherever I go for webinars. So one, I think we should definitely, the stories, like Priya said, the stories that we heard today, we should, we should really publish them somewhere or have it somewhere so that people can know about it, what all things they can do. Second, what things you would say or suggest to these ladies who are in their mid careers, where they are probably planning for their, let's say, pregnancy or their marriage. How do they, or they are just just newly married, have a newborn baby, those kind of middle career oriented women, middle career age. What would you suggest to them? How do they balance their work and their life so that their passion is also there, their career path is also there, and they don't compromise, saying that okay, I have to balance my family life, so they drop out. So some of those tips, if you can give, I think that will be really helpful for them.
I'm going to route that question to Shikha. Shikha, would you like to comment on that? Maybe a few lines, and then we move on to the next question.
Okay. We have almost covered it, I thought, but one thing more that I could add is that we should learn to negotiate. So in our offices, we are taught to negotiate. I think all of us would have gone through some workshop on good negotiation, but at home we don't do it. We don't negotiate with our spouses, for example. Say, especially in the lockdown days when you mentioned that all of us were doing double shift. How about negotiating, I would say to the younger generation, how about negotiating with your spouse? This is your job at home, for example. I cook the meal, you wash the dishes, say, or you change the nappies alternate days, whatever, So I would advise our youngsters to polish their skills on negotiation at home with your spouse, with your grown-up kid, for example, or your mother-in-law, father-in-law, brother-in-law, whoever. So that's another thing that came to my mind.
Thank you, Shikha. Arpita, we have a question for you. It's from Bimal. The question is, do existing generations think from future generation perspective? Because future generation is of a different mindset and priorities. So what do you think will they even decide to come up, or the expectations that we have from them, does that even fall in line with what they think?
I think, if when you're looking at two different generations, obviously our expectations is always going to be different from what they're expecting, because we have been brought up in a particular way. We had faced certain challenges which they may not be facing at all. So if I have to really look at it, I think when we are bringing the next generation, even when it comes to your own children, we kind of now, at least I do that with my children, kind of hear them out. And my suggestions are, I put it as suggestions, not as this is what you need to do, because I know they will not take.
Negotiation. Right there. I don't know if we were able to ever negotiate with husbands, but with kids, we definitely will have to do it.
Husbands, you can negotiate. Why can't you?
No, I am sure everybody on this call definitely has negotiated with husbands. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. So I think more of us need to do it. Vipin, I'm going to route the next question to you. With the pandemic making work from home, do you think the equation has changed for women?
Yes, I think. See, earlier there was a big mindset from giving work from home options to employees. I won't say women employees, to general employees. I think pandemic all of a sudden came, and it forced the entire world to work from home, to work remotely. So that is a big opportunity now for us women, right? This is the time when we can upskill ourselves, in which we can develop our skills, and we can grab those opportunities of working remotely and flexible working hours. But then we have to prove that we are capable. What Shweta mentioned earlier, that it should not be hire us because we are women, but definitely pandemic has washed away those barriers of people that work from home or remote working is not effective.
Great, thank you. I think we have another question from Ashok. Ashok, Basanji, if you could just unmute Ashok, and this will be the last question for the session before we move on to the quiz and the entertainment session. Ashok, do you have a question?
Good evening. Am I audible?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, very powerful session, strong discussion. I really appreciate. I mean, I'm feeling that whatever we say, that India will be the world leader soon, and then credit mostly we talk about will goes to the youngster, but I think the major share will go to this powerful woman, and because of this powerful woman, we will be the world leader. And it's really nice to see. And on lighter note, the days are not away, wherein maybe 30% reservation required to the men and the woman. I'm really inspired with you. I'm really inspired with this discussion. I'm really inspired. Coming to the session, just need some advice, suggestion, your views on this one. We as a CIO, as a leadership, we also have a team which is a woman in the middle management in our team or at the lower management. And they also wanted to grow to the leadership as you grow to the leadership team. What are the main CIOs can do, or what are the corporates can do to support these middle management, those are women, to reach to the higher position, so that we see the more and more women leaders, the technology leaders across the industry?
Shweta, I'm going to route this question to you. And
Sure.
That's how then.
I think, Ashok, one thing from my career journey, what I could say is somebody entrusted me when I had 5 years of experience to drive the whole digital transformation for the organization. I was at Max York Life at that time. So irrespective of what gender I came from. So what a CIO community today can do for the women in their team is extend those large heavy lift projects to the capable candidates. And if those are women in your team, then extend those heavy lift large projects. That will become a major milestone for their journeys, right? So that will give them the right lesson, the right responsibility, and also right steer for being able to take such large responsibilities in their journeys ahead. So that's one pointer, recommendation, suggestion that I would have, that place that trust, extend the opportunity, which is the meatiest and hardest in your team, to the most capable candidate. And if that's a woman, be it.
And I would just like to add one thing to this, Ashok. I think we have to be mentors. I think we have to be mentors, especially to the young women, even young men who join our functions. I have had some amazing mentors, and one of the things that I think over my career, I've said this 5,000 times. My team, knows when I'm going to say this, and their face kind of turns a weird shade of purple when they know that I'm going to say it. So I mean, my best thing that I ever heard, this was Singtel's CEO. We had a fire chat with him, and he said, every mentor, every manager will teach you one thing, either what you should do or what you should not do.
What you should.
So, yes. So I think that's something that we have to always keep in mind when we are talking to these youngsters that come into our teams. We have to mentor them and hopefully teach them what they should do when they get to that position. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for the panelists, and thank you so much for the questions. It has been a fun session. Shah Rukh Khan was here for a few seconds. I think that was fun. Thank you so much for taking time on a beautiful Saturday afternoon to talk about this topic. I think women's issues need to be highlighted today more than ever, and not just on Women's Day, but then, this is a start. I'm sure we can only do better. Thanks to all my panelists. And before I hand it over to Preeti, just to reiterate a few things, and I think we had some really, really great takeaways. We have to do our part. Determination, grit, passion is critical. Corporate policies of inclusion, diversity should be there in the true sense. Nothing called women hiring or women inclusion. It has to be inclusion in general. We need to look for a support system, look for partnerships at home, negotiate with whoever you can. Let others take care of the kitchen or kids for a while. I remember Indra Nooyi in one of her sessions said, you cannot have it all. So just look for what you want and go after it. So let's just do that. She's a smart woman. She cannot be wrong. Create a succession plan. Like Vipin said, the broken rung, it has to be fixed. Find your passion. And at the end, the 3 Ps, passion, patience, and perseverance. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to my dear Preeti, over to you.
Thank you so much, Priya. And I'm sure all our viewers must have enjoyed it a lot. At least I enjoyed it a lot. And the best thing what I liked it, negotiate. I'm not sure this is true. Why are we afraid of negotiating at home? Excellent, Shikha. I'm going to do that from tomorrow itself. And another very big learning what I'm going to have is nothing is impossible for a female, for a woman. If anyone tries to drive you back, if anyone tries to restrict us to reach out our potential, please stop them. Don't get carried away. So excellent. Thank you so much, everyone, for your excellent thoughts. And it was really power-packed and intelligent discussion. We are going to have quiz on Kahoot platform. Can we have the quiz on the screen, please? I will repeat few of the rules when you are going to log in. Please use your email, use your phone number along with your name so that you can get the prize. And the quiz ID is 7639635. Can we please have quiz on the screen? I am repeating the quiz ID 7639635. We are still waiting to have quiz on our screen. Interesting. Okay. Let me repeat it once again, 7639635. A lot of people are joining. Give your name, give your phone number so that you can win exciting prizes. Yes, join. Many people are joining. Let's wait for a few more seconds before we start. 7639635. Give your phone number along with your name so that we can recognize you and you can get your award. You can get your prize. Good, people are joining in. Should we start? First question is going to be there in front of us. How many women were elected to Lok Sabha in 2019? We're getting quick answers. Okay. Good. Let's move to next. Rashmi Sinha is an entrepreneur and was named one of the world's top 10 women influencers by Fast Company. For what? Rashmi Sinha is an entrepreneur and was named one of the world's top 10 women influencer by Fast Company. So you need to tell us for what? Wow. Lot of right answers in this case. Good. Oh, someone said vampire. Interesting. What was the first country that granted women the right to vote? What was the first country that granted women the right to vote? I feel like answering for this. Okay, lot of right answers. Excellent. Good job. Vampire still is at second position. Good. Who was the first speaker in Lok Sabha? Who was the first speaker in Lok Sabha? Good, good. Wow. Lot of right answers. Meera Kumar. Excellent. Good job, everyone. Vampire is at first position. Who is vampire? Let's move next. She was the first Indian track athlete to earn a U20 World Athletics gold medal. Athletics gold medal, sorry. What's her name? First Indian track athlete who earned U20 Lot of right answers. Excellent. We have got very knowledgeable participants, viewers. Good job. Vampire still holds the first position. Let's move next. All female crew on Air India flew from Bengaluru to what city in 2021? It's flew. All female crew on Air India flew from Bengaluru to which city in 2021? Again, lot of right answers. Wow, Vampire still maintains the first position. Congratulations till now. 3 players just hit the 3 strikes. Who was the first woman to become Miss World? Who was the first woman to become Miss World? Getting there, getting there. 15 right answers. Very well done. Good going. Vampire still at first. SV at second. PK at third. Let's move to next. Who is known as the tragedy queen of Hindi cinema? Who is known as the tragedy queen of Hindi cinema? I'm sure at our age group, all of us must be aware of this. Not a tough question. I'm sure most of us know about this. Excellent. Wow, Vampire still holding at first position. Good going, Vampire. Let's move to next. In 2020, a record name of women took over as CEOs of Fortune 500 companies. So how many of them? In 2020, a record number of women took over as CEOs of Fortune 500 companies. You have to let us know how many of them. Lot of right answers. Excellent. Wow. Vampire still holding at first position. Milan has the highest answer streak of 4. Good going, everyone. Last question. In 2001, Bismillah Khan and Dash received the Bharat Ratna, the instance of a woman receiving the award. Oh, 23 right answers. Wow. So this brings us to the end of our today's quiz. All the winners are going to get their prizes. Vampires. First position is SV. Second is Vampire. Third is AK. And there are few runners up as well. Congratulations, everyone. Those who have won and those who have played as well. Very well done, everyone. So now, after quiz, I'm sure you all must have enjoyed. Let's have some more entertainment. And for that entertainment, let me introduce you to Aditi Mittal, who is a comedian. She's a writer. She's also an actor. And you know what? She is barely managing any of these 3 roles with competence. Yes, this is right. She can be found posting workout videos on Instagram. You can find her putting her foot in the mouth on Twitter and oversharing from her personal life on the Facebook. On a lighter note, let's welcome our comedian Aditi Mittal. Hey Aditi.
Hello. Hi, thank you so much for having me here. I am so thrilled and congratulations to all the winners of the quiz. And Preeti, I just want to begin by wishing everyone here a very, very happy Women's Day. Can we have a round of applause for you today? This is such an honor. You know, I realized the good thing about virtual conferences is that you don't have to wait for the open bar to begin. The bar is always open.
Cheers.
So, cheers. Since, since this is the entertainment part of the show, I would recommend everyone get your glasses and raise them to yourselves. Preeti, how was your lockdown? Yeah, how was your lockdown?
Lockdown? For
Huh.
me, there is no lockdown. I'm in IT. IT people don't
Oh,
stay under lockdown. We are moving around. Lockdown is for
like
others.
there is lockdown is for others. My lockdown was great. I lost 5 kgs of hair. Um, this there was not a screen in my house where the wall in front did not have a oil stain from the back of my head because
Oh,
मैं बस ऐसे पड़ी रहती थी in front of screens all the time. Um, and like every wall in my house was smelling like parachute. Every wall in my house was smelling like parachute. मतलब दीवारों के लंबे घने काले बाल आ गए थे लेकिन
but
मेरे यहाँ पे bald patch हो गया.
good, Aditi, that you were using parachute. You were not using chameli ka tel. I'm happy.
क्यों अगर अगर मैं चमेली का तेल यूज करूंगी तो चमेली क्या यूज करेगी बेचारी. But you know, as I said, you know, I would like to begin. I would like to say, I would like to begin by wishing everybody, you know, a happy Women's Day. And I was told कि देखो ज़्यादा कंपनी पे जोक्स नहीं बनाने, ठीक है ना? And I realized कि मैं दूसरे लोगों के जॉब्स का मजाक नहीं उड़ाती because my parents still don't know what I do. Like when people ask my family members कि आपकी बेटी करती क्या है? They're like खानदान का मुंह काला कि इतनी नाक कटवाई है आने वाली 6 पीढ़ियां सूंघ नहीं पाएंगी. सारे वोल्डरमॉर्ट के छोटे छोटे बच्चे यहीं पे पैदा होते हैं बिना नाक के. And when we were younger, you know, and guests would come and parents would say कि अंकल आंटी के लिए डांस करो. I was that kid who was like कौन सा genre? मेरे पास सैड सॉन्ग है, हैप्पी सॉन्ग है, एंड आई नो कहो ना प्यार है बाय हार्ट. तो मैं बचपन से ही नौटंकी थी. You know, whenever my dad owed people money, he used to just call them home because then they would never come. They would be like, रहने दो, मित्तल के बच्चे का 6 घंटे का छैया छैया देखना पड़ेगा, तो उसको पैसा रखने ही दो. Now, coming to the topic of Women's Day, right? You know, every time someone talks about Women's Day, someone will say, "Acha, acha, Women's Day to theek hai, but what about Men's Day? Huh? What about Men's Day? Why don't we have a Men's Day?" And I'm like, yes, there is a Men's Day. It's called Every Day. In fact, there is actually a Men's Day, which happens on November 19th, which is also the same as International Toilet Day. Now, don't get angry with me. I didn't make that up. That decision also was probably made by a group of men somewhere only who decided कि हाँ ये same day पे रखेंगे. The only thing, by the way, common between my husband and a toilet is that I wish he didn't make me flush every time. Like I swear right now, I am like a Sherlock Holmes water boy for my husband. Every time I pass by, I'm like, Limka, ठीक है. Fanta, अजी सुनते हो, थोड़ा पानी पी लो. Then Women's Day discounts are there. Right? Women's Day discounts are my favorite thing in the world. कि ये लो 1000 रुपए के वैक्सिंग पे 3 रुपए का डिस्काउंट. Buy one sock, get the other sock free. See, I'm thinking बनता है. थोड़ा डिस्काउंट बनता है because everyone says नहीं नहीं ज्यादा कमर्शियल हो गया, ज्यादा कमर्शियल हो गया. I'm saying बनता है. Because see, on Women's Day, women might get 3% discount on products. But for the rest of the year, we get 30% discount on salaries. So that's why I'm saying थोड़ा तो डिस्काउंट दे ही दो एक दिन के लिए. Because let's face it, it's expensive to be a woman these days. Okay, we are considered a liability at source. कि कहते हैं ना कि नहीं नहीं लड़की तो पराया धन होती है, दे रियली थिंक ऑफ अस एज लोन्स, क्योंकि लोन और लड़की दोनों में इंटरेस्ट ज्यादा होता है, टर्म्स एंड कंडीशन समझ में नहीं आते, एंड वी आर जस्ट वेटिंग कि मेच्योर कब होगी यार, मतलब लाइक लास्ट पेमेंट कब करनी पड़ेगी. आई एम सेइंग don't think of us as a loan, just leave us alone, because as I said, it is very expensive to be a woman today. Like there are so many things that women have to buy. Okay, like there's that one thing that's always recommended for women, girls should do martial arts classes. Martial arts classes. अरे कोई पर्स छीनने आ रहा है और वहां पे to do tai chi as a response is not adequate. Like वो चाकू दिखा रहा है और मैं यहाँ पे अपना ब्रीदिंग विथ इमेजिनरी बॉल बना रही हूँ, वो इमेजिनरी बॉल भी चुरा के लेके चला जाएगा. There's that saying na, it's like taking a stick to a gunfight. This is like taking a safety pin to a nuclear war. But nahi, कहते कि we must learn martial arts. Girls must learn martial arts. I'm like, maybe we could spend our money on gender sensitization classes for all genders. But no. Teach the girls only martial arts. And here's the thing. We can become Akshay Kumar. But in our minds, we know that even retaliating to protect yourself sometimes can have consequences. No, like I did martial arts. Theory में I am Jackie Chan. Practical में I am Shin Chan. इसीलिए लड़कियां ज्यादा से ज्यादा आर्ट्स की स्टूडेंट्स होती हैं, क्योंकि उन्हें मार्शल आर्ट्स भी सीखना पड़ता है और मैरिटल आर्ट्स भी सीखना पड़ता है. Then another thing that nowadays women have to buy is pepper spray. Pepper spray. Has anyone here ever bought pepper spray? Because I saw the cheapest pepper spray I saw was for 325 rupees. 300, and it's such a small bottle and it expires in 3 months. Okay. And the thing is, pepper spray is something that you only have to use in emergencies. And those are the kind of emergencies that you don't really want to happen, right? Like you're like, भगवान मेरे साथ कुछ बुरा ना हो जाए, लेकिन अगर हो जाए तो अगले 3 महीनों में हो जाए. So that's why really the sad part is कि अगर use किया तो पैसा बर्बाद हुआ, नहीं भी किया तो फिर भी पैसा बर्बाद हुआ. Then I thought, to be honest, I don't understand the logic of putting pepper spray on your harasser. I'm like, मैं उसके ऊपर नमक, मिर्ची, पेपर क्यों डाल रही हूँ? ये harasser है कि मतलब भेलपुरी? And the worst is, if your harasser is wearing sunglasses or specs, then the defense costs 300 and his defense costs 100. Guess who's going in net loss? By the way, the other thing that I believe strongly that women suffer from is if I had a time machine, no, I would not go back in time to meet Mahatma Gandhi or Julius Caesar or whatever. I would go back in time in history and stop that woman who first did waxing. I would be like, बहन, तुझे पता नहीं तू कितनी पीढ़ियों के लिए हानिकारक होने वाली है. Because see, human women are the only animals in the animal kingdom for whom removing the hair is a sign of attraction. I'm saying keep the hair for protection from the weather, of course. But maybe if we kept our hair, then we would not have to go for martial arts classes. But you know, the truth is that the world is very unfair. Even men have to wax now. That's why whenever Bollywood actors show off their abs, you know, most women are thinking, wow, it must be so difficult to get those abs. And most men are thinking, oh man, iska waxing karte hue kitna jala hoga yaar. Skincare is another one. Skincare, as a woman, my God, if you ask a man, what is your skincare routine? He'll be like, I took a bath. Or kya? If you ask a woman her skincare routine, it's a test match answer. Test match, not T20, test match. You have to stand there minimum of 5 days. Like I started my skincare routine when I was 33 years old, okay? And ads told me by then it's too late. It's too late. The damage is already done. And I swear, I'm looking at my face right now on the screen and I'm like, it's not that bad, you guys. But then I guess ads are meant to make you feel bad, no? And I'm thinking, is this an ad or is this my mother? I don't understand. Because when it comes to skincare, no, the human woman's body is like a cricket pitch. They have to put different kinds of players with different skill sets every 2 centimeters, different kinds of cream, different kind of washes. And we all wish we could have Virat Kohli on it at least once. Like there's hair wash, scalp wash, face wash, neck wash, left ear wash, right ear wash. I'm like, how does the soap know these things? Because women's faces are so delicate, not so delicate. That's why everything has to have ek chothai moisturizing milk. Ek chothai moisturizing milk. Oh my god. And my favorite thing about these Dove ads, no, is there will always be 3 friends in these ads, okay, who are just hanging around in bathrobes in this like super sanitized white environment. Like they are just human bacteria in God's petri dish, like a bathroom in heaven. And where instead of tissue paper, you wipe your bum with a cloud, and instead of a dryer, the angel just gently farts in your hands. But my favorite thing is, you know, there's that woman who, like in the ad, she'll always be doing the foam dosa on her face like that. Like she'll take the the face one, and then she'll be like, and then she'll say something stupid like, you know, it's like applying nothing on my face. And I'm like, you know, another way to replicate that exact same feeling with lesser work, apply nothing on your face. Then there's women's deodorants, which I feel like everybody should invest in deodorant irrespective of gender from the way we are going. But women's deodorants I love, because today they want you to buy deodorant with ocean breeze extracts in it. Ocean breeze. Like, isn't that like kind of like bottling a fart? And who wants to smell like Juhu Beach? Who's like, the smell of roasted butter with the hues of horse manure? And at least with women's deodorants, they'll tell us what's inside. They'll tell us. Like there is wild strawberry, Caribbean lime, some kind of bhaji pala salad is there. We are quite aware of this. But with men's deodorants, they'll just sell you concepts. Like they'll be like, gravity, wet dreams. I was like, इसमें है क्या? Gravity matlab if I open the bottle, will I get sucked inside? क्या हो रहा है? India, by the way, is the only country in the world that has a bina gas wala deodorant. And that also we decided to name Fog. I'm like, Are? Now I know this is an older crowd. So everyone here, I bet, has kids. And I just actually, I'm gonna try and see everyone's videos to see if you have. And मेरे को कोई दिख नहीं रहा, लेकिन how many of you have kids? Because I'm really confused. I'm very confused these days at looking at kids' names. Okay, because what has happened to all the kids named Pooja and Neha? Today, Poojas and Nehas are like honest politicians. They're non-existent and fewer and older. Like, what do you say when you've been handed a 1-year-old Aditya Vardhanan? I'm like, ये तो diaper निकाल के अपने diaper से तलवार निकाल के मेरी मूंछ काटने वाला है यार. मतलब threading हो जाएगी, but oh my god. I met a kid recently named Rehan. Rehan. It's a Rehan. So you have to just have a minor heart attack before you say his name. They're like, नहीं वो दादाजी नाम देते देते गुजर गए ना, so that's why he's called Rehan. It's no wonder that so many Indian kids actually now we're talking later in life than we did 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Because first 5 years we're trying to figure out how to say our own names. They're like, beta, how do you spell your name? I was like, myself ASDLFGK97539E with the cap on top, U with the Uki Matra. Then it's no surprise that the Indian kids are winning all the spelling bees. And then, of course, they're showing off now. They're showing off. Arey, you know na, Ratrika, she started walking when she was 6 months old. I'm like, then put her down. Let's see. I love kids, by the way. I love kids, okay? Nothing jagaus mere maa ki mamta more than when I see those ads for baby products, okay? It's like mom porn. Because you can't not want to have a baby after hearing someone go, आपकी शिशु की नाजुक त्वचा के लिए I'm like, oh my God, Shishu, bhai sab mere ko 5 pack karke de do. And there'll always be these really cute, sleepy looking babies who are just so shishu-ish, yeah, with a soft focus close up on the bum. And then, of course, the hand will come from outside the frame. And then there's just like that, like dom, ta-na-na-na-na-na, dom, ta-na-na-na-na-na, dom, ta-na-na. I'm like, oh my God, yes, yes, I would love that job. Okay, I want to be on the set of one of these things where the director's like, "Acha shot ready hai, baby ke bum pincher ko bulao." I would go running, and the poor baby is just lying there on his stomach, tears rolling down his face, just feeling so used. He's like, I am nothing but a piece of ass to these people. But it's true. It's true. I love Indian ads, and I love the fact is that today being Indian is something that I want to celebrate. I want to celebrate it because India is the world's largest democracy, right? And what is a democracy? A democracy is for the people, of the people, by the people. And what does India have the largest supply of? People. Like, we have managed to make reproduction our biggest achievement yet. And why not? Why not? Excuse you. Because we, the people of the Indian subcontinent, okay, we were the first ones in history who wrote the textbook on reproduction. Okay, we wrote the Kama Sutra, right? We were the first people in the middle of sex who were like, this is amazing. Ye chal notes banate re. Like, now, just some historical perspective I'll give you. In the 1600s, the British came to India, right? Looking at it as a giant marketplace for labor and spices, kind of like a big bazaar where you can shoot the attendant if you don't like how he's talking to you or whatever. And I can just imagine our British overlords being like, bring us all your spices. And obviously, some Chato Indian would chop, sir, our spices. And the British overlord is like, this one is spicy. I get it. Oh, this one is also spicy. I get it. It's spicy. I understand. I'm like, yes, sir, that's why it's called spices. And that's what makes me so angry. I'm like, you came here, you took our spices. Now at least use them in your damn food properly. Every time I travel abroad, no, I swear 80% of my travel budget is chili sauce. I'm like, एक काम करो, आप कोहिनूर रखो, मेरे को बस 3 चुटकी गरम मसाला दे दो, okay? Because though I do feel like we are getting revenge. We are getting our revenge in the form from the British. We are getting our revenge in the form of one man, Shashi Tharoor. Shashi Tharoor is amazing, okay? I love seeing him on any panel, on any this thing where Shashi Tharoor is always talking to some British guy. And matlab screwing him over like in a debate or something. Shashi Tharoor screwing over a British guy in a British accent. That's power. It's like someone taking off your shoe and hitting you only with it. I too find it very confusing, no? When Indians that live in foreign countries are called immigrants, but foreigners that live in India are called expats. I'm like, you? What is the difference? Because if you think about it, no, Sundar Pichai, CEO of Google. Sundar Pichai, CEO of Google. Matlab, it doesn't get bigger than that. What do they call him? Son of an immigrant. But that white guy outside Osho Ashram in maroon gown, high on the cheapest kind of weed. Matlab, NCB is also like, agar tumhe isse nasha hota hai, to le lo. Matlab, we can't do anything. He is called that Osho Ashram guy is called an expat. And I'm like, yaar, Sundar Pichai has a PhD in microphysics. And this guy has lice. That's the difference. And Indians, वैसे भी, they'll say, oh, Indians now, they're so bad when they travel abroad, yeah. So like weird behavior and all this stuff, yeah. But I feel like, they don't behave very well when they come here either. Like last year, I went to Varanasi, okay. Varanasi is the place where all the white people's souls get sucked in the moment they are born. So that's why they come looking, कि अपना soul किधर है, अपना soul किधर है, वाराणसी जाते हैं, it must be there. So I went there. Because I was like, यार अपना भी शायद होगा. And over there, I saw one thing called beg packing. Okay, beg packing. And I don't know if anyone's heard of beg packing or not, but beg packing is basically when kids from first world countries don't have money for food to eat and money to find a place to sleep, but they have backpack and iPhone. So then they see what everybody else in Varanasi is doing and they co-opt that method and they'll come. And do you know how disorienting it is to be walking on the banks of the Ganges and have a hatta katta looking white guy come up to you and say, Allah ke naam pe Jai Baba. I'm like, ye tu mujhe de re, kya chal raha hai yahan pe? But I really hope that you all had a good time. This brings me to the end of my time with you. I cannot see anyone, so I don't know how this is going. But Preeti, I hope you enjoyed yourself.
Yes, I really enjoyed myself, and I'm sure all our attendees, viewers, they also must have enjoyed. Thank you so much, Aditi,
Thank you.
for making us laugh. And in the end, I would like to say thank you to all our esteemed panelists, to our entertainer, to our host, and to all the viewers, and also to our partners, UKG, and also to the all the management committee and the members who played a very vital role, and behind the scene they were playing the role to make it happen. Thank you so much, everyone. Happy Women's Day. Thanks a lot. Goodbye.